Jonathan Kim, he is him, and he showed us all that on Saturday. And my goodness gracious, he's actually joining us in the first segment today. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE to receive 20% off your order. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe. Tell us all about your weekend in the YouTube comments below, because I gotta say, not to make this about me right off the shoot here, but I had a great weekend. Got to spend a lot of time with my lovely wife, my 2 great children. We did some t-ball. We went to a cider mill, a first birthday party. It was wonderful. But with all those people and all those moments combined, no one made me happier than this guy joining the show did on Saturday as he knocked home the winning field goal. It's Jonathan Kim. Jonathan, first of all, thank you so much for joining the show. Second of all, how many times have you replayed that kick in your head since Saturday?
Well, thanks for having me, first of all.
Of course.
And honestly, not too much,
Wow.
It was a fun in the moment, but I've just kind of enjoyed the more so just the team aspect of winning. It was cool that I was able to put the final points on the board. But it was the offense that got me there, and the defense made the game-sealing tackle. So really just more so been enjoying it with the team.
When did it start to enter your head that, okay, this is going to come down to my foot? Like, was it pretty early in that drive, or did it take a while to really click that, oh boy, it's going to be Kim time here?
I mean, as soon as the drive started, I was like, oh, there's a chance for it. And everybody on the sideline was like coming over to me. It was like, hey, it could be your time. And I was like, well, let it be my time and I'll be ready for it. So.
Do you like the teammates coming up to you, or did that kind of like catch you off guard? Do you like it more, just all to yourself in those pressure moments beforehand? I
like being around the team, at the end of the day, it's all about the team. So having them around me and it's just like practice, if I put too much pressure on it in the game situation, then it'll become too big of a moment. So just, getting back into my team and just having them there and them having or showing confidence in me really helped.
When did you know that kick was going in, by the way? Was it like when it left your foot? Was it even before you took the field? When did you have like the utmost confidence that, oh yeah, we're flying back home with the victory here?
I mean, I walked onto the field and I looked at Aiden and I was like, hey, let's go win a game, because that's just what I say to him. We have game-winning kicks in practice, and that's just what I'll say to him. And so, there was never really a doubt in my mind. Even before the drive started, I was like, you know what, if it comes down to it, just got to take advantage of it. So, I was confident the whole time.
Obviously, the kick, blew us all away. It was right down the middle. It was a guaranteed no doubter right off the foot. But like, what really took me aback is just how calm, cool, and collected you were before that kick. I mean, because look, in football, even as high as NFL, college, high school, whatever it is, some guy warms up the legs. I mean, other guys look like they're praying to be literally anywhere else but that field before they take the field. But meanwhile, you were just passing the ball back and forth on the sideline. Like you look like you were just having a beach day over there. How on earth were you able to stay so calm, so cool, and so collected before that massive moment?
I mean, the biggest thing, like for me, for my peace of mind, is just my faith.
Okay.
I'm just, I take every kick with the mindset of being grateful. Just taking the gratitude to God and just being like, hey, whether I get this opportunity or I don't, whether I make it or I miss, I'm just thankful to be here. So that being the first step, but then, you see kickers kicking into the net the whole drive.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that. This is my first ever game-winning kick opportunity. So, I hit one into the net. I was like, that feels good. And so I just wanted to leave it at that. I didn't want to kick up into the last moment and have the last kick be iffy. And then and then just going out and, I've watched kickers attempt game winners, and I see how they handle it. And I see a lot of them kind of just like to go off on their own. And, I feel like it just leaves too much up to yourself and your head. And so I'd rather just do what I normally do, have a good time and just enjoy it rather than stress too much about it. So just going out there, laughing, having a good time with Eckley, throwing the ball around. So
that sounds like my pre-golf prep. I'll just hit like one driver on the range and be like, you know what? That's good. The only difference is like I will proceed to hit 8 duck hooks, a slice, and it just falls off the rails. But I get it. You know, you don't want to overwork it before your big moment. But speaking of the big moment, like, is there any way to simulate that pressure in practice, or is that just an impossible task to do?
You know, we do game-winning field goal situations. And yeah, I would say it's hard to simulate the same amount of pressure, but at the same time, it's just, I don't know, like I didn't really feel pressure. You know, just going back to my faith, you know, I only play for God, and no matter what happens, he's still going to love me. So there was no pressure at all in that kick.
And it seemed like a pretty friendly road environment. Obviously, a road game is always uncomfortable. Maryland had most of the fans there, but man, on TV at least, really seemed like Spartan Nation showed up pretty big there. Was that something that you guys felt during the game, or was that just, you know, good mic placements on Big Ten Network's part?
Oh yeah, they definitely showed out. You know,
Okay.
Spartan Nation's got great fans. And hearing the "Go Green, Go White" chants behind us was awesome. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I would definitely say it. You know, Spartan Nation did a great job, and it definitely wasn't the most hostile away environment that I've experienced, and I'm sure it's not going to be. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be more hostile to come. But you know, it's a road game, and it's hard to win on the road. Especially, I mean, Maryland had a great offense. They had a great first week, so being able to go in and win was huge.
Post-game celebration, just walk us through it all, whether it's just individually what you went through. Like, was your phone just molten lava hot? I mean, what was the party like afterwards, or what's going to stick out to you the most moving forward here?
I mean, the first thing was like after the game, we went into the locker room. You know, we celebrated as a team, and then I got to go back out and see my parents. And so that was good. And then I had a lot of family there.
Awesome.
And then as soon as I got back to the locker room, texted my wife because she was in North Carolina for a wedding. So I had to text her and spend that moment with her. And then when we got back to Michigan, me and a couple of the other guys just sat outside and we didn't share a cigar, but we all had cigars. Just sat out, had a good time, and then went to bed.
That's a classy celebration. I like that. Class up the joint a little bit over there. That's awesome. Let's go back to that about your wife, though, not even being there, because fall weddings are a certain thing. You know, I don't, for one, like fall weddings, but I'm just a fan. I'm not married to an actual player. Was there any indication that she could be skipping that wedding? How important was she in this wedding? Was she standing up, or what's going on here?
Yeah, she was one of the bridesmaids.
Oh, man.
Really good friends that got married. So absolutely did not want her to miss that. But yeah.
Was she able to watch it? Like, did she have it on the phone or anything like that? Or like, was she just following it through like an app? That's crazy.
So
I love that. What's more stressful, actually? Is it planning a wedding and getting married while still being a college student, albeit a student athlete especially, or is it kicking in a road environment, whether it's whatever Maryland calls their stadium or Kinnick last year? Like, what's the more stressful situation for you?
Honestly, I was really blessed, and she did a lot of the planning, pretty much all the planning. So
that's nice. Yeah.
Definitely would say kicking, even though it's a tough decision because, you know, there's not a lot of stress with either one.
Sure.
But
so I just want to go back to the post-game celebration locker room because, you know, we did a recap show here. Of course, I'm just the delirious fan. I don't have much experience inside of a locker room. Last time I've been in one was good old Division III varsity baseball up here in the state of Michigan. But I said, you know what, this win, being it so early in the season, being on the road, this has got to feel a lot different than any victory you guys had last year, because you guys picked up a few in November, but we don't have to, you know, retell the whole story of last season. I feel like it's a little different. And the fact that it happened this early in the season against a team that on paper you guys weren't supposed to beat could vault you into more confidence moving forward here. Am I just being a silly little Joe over here of a fan, or do you really think that there's some substance to that moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a road win. It was big, you know. Like you said, going into a game where we were the underdogs, I think it was like a 9.5 point underdog. It was huge. Everybody was really excited, and yeah, just winning in general is great for a program, and definitely helped boost our confidence going into the rest of the season. And just looking out at the Big Ten, it just seems like it's anybody's conference right now. No one has really stepped up too much. So it's exciting. And I just can't wait to see what else comes out of the Big Ten.
And the first team that's in first place of this new 18-team Big Ten, it is your Michigan State Spartans, folks. That is what I'm talking about. All thanks, of course, to Jonathan Kim. He also had a few teammates that did some work there, too. Really quick, just most eye-popping moment as you're there on the sidelines during the game. Was it a certain play that really sticks out to you, or what was just like the best just from watching?
I mean, Nick Marsh's touchdown. I mean, that was awesome.
Has to be. Has to be.
Getting to watch him all through summer. And just watch him develop. And honestly, that, and on top of that, him going out of bounds on our 2-minute drill. Just to show the knowledge of a freshman, being smart enough to not get tackled in bounds and be able to get out of bounds so that we have more clock. That was awesome. Just getting to watch Nick Marsh do some big things. And I'm really excited to see what he does for the program.
Gang, we are going to be back, not with Jonathan Kim. We're going to go let him enjoy the rest of the week, get prepared for the Prairie View A&M game coming up. But when we're back, we're going to be talking Michigan State injuries, unfortunately, get into some mailbag questions. But just keep it tuned right here. But Jonathan, cannot thank you enough for your time. And once again, thanks for making it an incredible weekend for all of us State fans. You have no idea how much that meant to a lot of us here. So really appreciate you and that fine foot that you kick with. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Time to talk your ear off about my new favorite app. It is Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Locked On Spartans fans, get ready for this one. You get to step into the game, into the simulation, and step into the shoes of being a head coach and leading your team to college football glory. Imagine being the coach of your Michigan State Spartans. From recruiting players to hiring coaching staffs to overseeing training camps, handling school scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure, just like our guy Jonathan Kim did on Saturday before that kick? And here's what I really love about this game. You are responsible for calling offensive plays, and gang, this is 100% playable offline. It is free. It has no ads. This is as easy of an app as you can find out there. And of course, for our Locked On Spartans fans, we have a promo code for you, Locked On CFB, all caps. Use that inside of the game store and receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. So download the game. Just visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up in the app stores. It's Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. Now, before, unfortunately, riffing about yet more long-term injuries for your Michigan State Spartans, there was a kickoff time announced for the Boston College game, September 21st. So, of course, not this weekend, the following weekend after that. It's under the lights in Chestnut Hill, 8 p.m. kickoff on the ACC network. So, look, I am fortunate to get that with my YouTube TV package. Based on the reactions I saw online, not a lot of other people get that channel. I know I didn't with my previous cable subscriber, so thanks a lot, whoever made that call. But look, I see what's going on here. They're trying to censor the greatness of Jonathan Smith, Michigan State Spartans. Okay, they see that we are an up-and-coming program. They see that Boston College is also sizzling too, but they want the fewest amount of viewers to actually watch the greatness unfolding right here in East Lansing. But hey, hopefully we walk out of that game 4-0. Not to walk over our opponent right here, Prairie View A&M this weekend. But yeah, that's the unfortunate part. I was really rooting for a night game. Got that, but we got it on a network that only maybe 16 people across the country might actually get. Now, this is the red bandana game for Boston College. If you're not hip to what that is, they were different jerseys, the red bandana design on the numbers, and that is to honor Boston College alumnus Wells Crother. An amazing story, of course, an unfortunate story too, passed away in the September 11th attacks, but they've been doing that to honor him for the last 9 years. Now, I got to say, before I looked up the record for Boston College red bandana games, my guess was, okay, the Golden Eagles are at least like 7-2 wearing these jerseys with defiant 40-point victories all over the place. Like, my memory says when they wear these jerseys, they do not lose these games. Like, there's a lot of emotion into the game. It's usually a massive home game for that crowd. Guys, I looked it up, and Boston College is only 4-5 in red bandana games. So hopefully it'll be 4-6 here in 2 weeks. Again, 8 p.m., ACC Network, so thanks a lot there. Just a quick little tab on Boston College. Last weekend, they absolutely curb stomped Duquesne, who I learned has a football team about 3 days ago. That was a very exciting discovery. And then they will be playing Mizzou on the road this weekend. That is number 6 in the country, Mizzou. really physical force on defense, which might not be the worst thing in the world for Michigan State. That's not me, rooting for injuries and praying to God that everyone's Achilles tendon snaps. But look, sometimes against big-time opponents like that, the old adage is, hey, when you play them once, you actually play them twice because all the physicality it takes to play in that game alone. Well, and then you could be pretty sore for the next week after that, get you off to a slow start. So, look, just physicality is part of the game of football. I don't think that's the worst opponent for Boston College to be facing before our Spartans take that trip to Boston College. All right. Speaking of soreness, actually a lot more than soreness. I know our last head coach, he would have said that, oh, yeah, all these guys are just sore. They're fine. No, Jonathan Smith is very upfront when he talks about injuries. And unfortunately, there's already no shortage of injuries to talk about with your Michigan State Spartans, even though we are just 2 weeks into the year. But yeah, we're on our 5th long-term injury so far. Kristian Phillips, big dually. Really strong game in week 1. We actually talked with Chase Glasser last week about how solid he really looked in the interior of that offensive line. You know where we're going with this. He is out for the season, leg injury. Again, that was your starting right guard. Graded really high in pass blocking in week 1, actually, against Florida Atlantic. So this wasn't a thing that happened against Maryland. This happened against Florida Atlantic. It sounded like they knew that he left that game with an injury. They just really didn't know, how big of an issue it was until later in the week. That's how you see Gavin Brocious get the start at right guard down in College Park. And then Dallas Fincher also spelling him too. Gavin Brocious, he got 43 snaps in that game. Okay pass blocking. Looked actually pretty good in run blocking per the initial numbers of Pro Football Focus and just our eyeballs watching the game too. Dallas Fincher, 31 snaps. So it was almost evenly split. 43 snaps for Brocious, 31 for Dallas Fincher. But yeah, Gavin Brocious, he's one of the younger guys, a guy that hasn't really found the field yet in his career. Because, hard to play as a true freshman, but even after that last year, he spent more season with his leg in an apparatus as he, sustained a massive leg injury last year than he did, out of it. So good, to see him on the field. Obviously, unfortunate that it has to happen because of a Kristian Phillips injury. Now, that's not the only one. Chance Rucker out 6 to 8 weeks. So, hopefully late October, early November is when we can see him. But, oh, man, what do we talk about a lot in the offseason as it pertained to the secondary? Hey, you know what? If not for nothing else, it's pretty cool that you have a lot of depth there, right? Like, you guys got some really good experience in your 2 deep. Now, what's really unfortunate about all that is that you got to use it already because Khalil Majid, okay, he's out for a very long time, if not the whole season. Dylan Tatum seems like he's going to be gone the entire season. So there's Chance Rucker, your cornerback, who started a lot of games last year as a true freshman, started this season on the 2 deep. Nevertheless, he is out. My God, this sucks. Now, Jeremiah Hughes, he stepped up. He played, I think it was north of 20 snaps. He slid up the depth chart last week against Maryland. So if you're looking for who we're going to see more of, it looks like it's going to be Jeremiah Hughes coming in the game. That is the redshirt freshman that you got from LSU last year in the transfer portal, if you're unfamiliar with that name. But yeah, like, depth is fun. You just never want to actually have to tap into it and use it, especially this early in the season. So yeah, that's a little annoying there. Again, Chance Rucker, while he wasn't a starter this year, that's obviously experience that you would rather have than not. I know I'm breaking a lot of news to you guys out there. Now, 2 other guys did sustain injuries, Jerron Glover and Ed Woods, cornerback Ed Woods, if you don't know that name. 2 guys starting caliber, if not just outright starters. Now, Jonathan Smith did say this at his press conference. He said, quote, "We're hopeful, but we will see," as it pertains to playing this upcoming Saturday. So it really seems like those aren't going to be long-term injuries. Ed Woods, I don't remember when he sustained that injury because, my God, it seemed like at least a dozen times in that Maryland game, he came up limping. So he was a warrior the entire game. And then Jerron Glover, yeah, hopefully he bounces back because he had a really strong game on Saturday. I believe it was, 6 catches, 84 yards off of 8 targets. So we heard a lot about Jerron Glover in the offseason, whether it was spring, whether it was fall, that he was really shining, that him and Childs have some good chemistry going. Didn't transpire against Florida Atlantic, but I did think it was interesting that they kept trying to go to that, almost force it in there 5 times against Florida Atlantic, but no catches. That was a really strong step forward there in Saturday for that connection. So again, do we need that connection for Saturday? If you do for a game against Prairie View A&M, well, we've got a lot more problems than just that right there. The important thing is, doesn't look like it's going to be a long-term injury. before we get to some mailbag questions, hey, let's talk about that other receiver that lit it up on Saturday. It's Nick Marsh, 194 receiving yards. He is your Big Ten Freshman of the Week. First Big Ten Freshman of the Week since all the way back to, it was actually just last season. Now, if you didn't tune in for this game, I understand if you gave up on the year last year, only us sickos stuck around for it. But Caton Hauser also won Big Ten Freshman of the Week honors last year after their game against Indiana. So look at that. Just keeping the Big Ten Freshman of the Week train chugging. We're going to get to some mailbag questions, including starting off with, hey, how do we feel about that stretch with Ohio State, Oregon, Iowa, Michigan now? But first, guys, need to talk your ears off about 5-hour energy. I had to get off the mat Sunday morning. That was a fun game Saturday. Great celebration afterwards. But my goodness gracious, that alarm clock sounds and oh yeah, that's right. I am a father of 2 kids and oh boy, our T-ball season starts today and I'm going to need to be a little alert for that. Well, I crawled over to the 5-hour energy bottle I had and that got things started off right. We are talking zero sugar, convenient, portable. It is the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done, getting your day started, getting over that afternoon hump. And hey, it also tastes fantastic. They got flavors like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry. There is a flavor for everyone. Go ahead and try them all and stock up for the rest of the season on their website where you can build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavors. Boom. Delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5-Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th, so not much more time, and only on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscriptions. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. All right, let's go swimming in this mailbag here, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. If you ever have a question, want to reach out to us. A lot of you did after the game on Saturday, and why not? Let's all celebrate together in the inbox over there. Thomas is going to bat first. After a very optimistic weekend for our Michigan State Spartans, because it wasn't just MSU that looked good, there are other holes on the schedule that, are these games, winnable all of a sudden? So this is where we go with Thomas here. He says, go green, a big win with lots of improvements from last week, but a lot left to be improved. Bang on right there, Thomas. Really quick before we get to your question, it's kind of why I left Saturday, even a little more jacked up than I should have been, because that was Michigan State's, C-plus game? I don't even think that was an extraordinary game on their part, but yet they still won on the road. Nevertheless, let's get into the meat of the question. Sorry for stretching this out. Given the subpar performances this week from Michigan, Oregon, and Iowa, how confident are you that Michigan State can pull off 1 or 2 wins during that 4-game stretch in October? Of course, that 4th game, being at home against Ohio State, that's going to kick off that gauntlet there. It's Ohio State, Oregon, bye week, Iowa, Michigan. How many wins do we see right there? I've said 1 before the season. I like that Iowa game. We'll get to that in a little bit. Let's start from the beginning of this gauntlet. The Oregon game, I know that they escaped Idaho, which, wow, what a start to the season there. And then they escaped Boise State, who's a really good group of 5 team. Let's not, slander the Broncos over here. I still am not high on that game for Michigan State. And this might sound silly, but there is some substance to it. It's because you have to fly across the country, and that is coming 6 days after a game, and not just any game, but after Ohio State. All right, just like we talked about last segment with Boston College maybe getting beat up and a little bruised against Mizzou, you could probably see that happening against Ohio State. So that's going to be a physical game for our Spartans, which, look, against the Buckeyes, not that high on right now. I'm sorry to rain on everyone's parade. The fact that it's 6 days later across the country, Michigan State or Big Ten teams, the old Big Ten teams in general, do not fly out west and just win like that. It is very hard to ask college kids to do that. I'm not feeling that great about the Oregon game, even though the Ducks have looked human in the first 2 weeks. Now, we'll keep going on the rest of the schedule here. I went into the season thinking that the Iowa game was going to be a win. Also fully understand that we were going to be underdogs in that game. You still very well might be underdogs in that game, but coming off a bye, homecoming against an opponent that's just the same iteration of itself every single year. Really strong defense, horrendous offense, although they might just be not good this year, but that's still an improvement for Iowa. Nevertheless, in games like that, it's a race to 20 points. right? Like you just saw with Iowa versus Iowa State, even though neither team got to 20 points, you know what I'm talking about. Which way is the ball going to bounce that day on any given fumble? Like that's how close these games are. Who's going to have the stronger special teams in that game? When it is that low of a scoring total, it comes down to special teams. We just saw that in the Iowa State game as their kicker banged home. What was it? A 48-yarder and then a 56-yarder to win it. Kid had an iron leg, was the reason the Cyclones won that one. All right, over here in East Lansing, we love our punter. Surely we love our kicker, who we just talked to in the first segment. I think that, yeah, you can only get more confidence out of that because, sure, Iowa looked good offensively in the first week. When they actually played a real group of five, or a group of four team, I should say, they just went back to look like the same Iowa that we've always known. So, yes, I think MSU can win the race to 20 there at home. Now the Michigan game. You're not going to like this. I am going to be a coward still and not predict a win. However, I don't think it's out of line to say that I'm feeling a little more confident about that game going into it. Over the offseason, I think I said 5%, 6% chance of winning that game. That somehow did a good job of upsetting Michigan State fans. I thought I was way too low on the team going into the season. And also a few Michigan fans that like to watch this show thinking that that's way too high of a percentage, Sparty. You're an idiot. You know what you're talking about. Seeing that Michigan, against all odds in the NIL era, didn't find a competent quarterback to play, that only gives me a little more confidence. Now, why I'm not going to predict a win right now is that Michigan defense is still great. Texas really took advantage of some untimely turnovers from the offense of Michigan, but still they have Will Johnson, they have Mason Graham, they even might have more draft picks on that defense. That's where I take a pause there, and it being a road game too. Right now, you want me to bark out a percentage? I'll shoot it up 20%. I'll go 25%. But then again, hey, who gave Michigan State a 25% chance to win over last weekend? It was a lot of the S&P Plus and the K4 rankings and all other analytics and predictive models out there too. So, hey, you know what? Feeling better about the game? Just still not all the way there yet. Ray writes in 2 questions. We'll hit them both. I've seen you on a few Sports Geeks panel podcasts now, and conspicuously absent is anyone from Michigan. Is Michigan too special to be a part of the network? Are they worried you would start getting belligerent? What's up with that? Now, Ray, of course, is affectionately talking about what we are doing during the week here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It is the Big Ten squad. We talk about the weekend ahead, and Isaiah Hull, that's a Locked On Wolverines guy. He's not on because I think that's when Michigan does their media, when we record. So that's why he's been zeroed out here. It's not because I've been, mailing him cutout magazine letters of threatening messages. No, Isaiah's a good guy. So, yeah, just unable to make it. That's why he's not on those shows. Question number 2, is Joe Rossi the best X's and O's coach on the team? Absolutely. He strikes me as pretty sharp and adaptable. I will not forget the time he ruined my one MSU game a few years ago by shutting down Tucker and Co. in a 31-7 drubbing. I don't even remember the 7 points in that game. That's how brutal of a night that was, or afternoon that was. Joe Rossi's been a Grand Slam hire so far. I know it's 2 weeks. I know it's against 2 teams that are breaking in new offensive lines, but still, just how fluid he is, making different game plans. You saw it in the Maryland game. They took, 3 or 4 deep shots right off the bat? He switched things up, so Maryland only took 2 shots the rest of the game after those 2 drives. But, man, talk about injuries. He has to work with a lot of new players and find a way for everyone to find a home on that defense. Like week 1, Dylan Tatum goes down. Malik Spencer is out after the targeting call. You got to throw Avion Gross on the field for a few dozen snaps. Like last week, okay, awesome. Chance Rucker, he's gone. Jeremiah Hughes, come on down. Like he is finding good homes. He's being fluid. He's everything that we've been promised so far under Joe Rossi. We'll see how it looks after much harder opponents with established offensive lines, but yeah, the Joe Rossi hire is great. We'll talk more about him on tomorrow's show, actually, with Stephen Brooks of 24/7 Sports. Kevin is going to have the last question here, and my God, this was a tough one. With the Lions opening up the season, that's right, I am a Detroit Lions fan. I had a question for your mailbag, assuming the Lions have a similar result as last year, same record of 12-5, playing in the first-round wildcard game. If for every 2 MSU losses the Lions won a playoff game, how many MSU losses would you take this year? For example, if MSU loses 4 games, the Lions would win 2 playoff games. In essence, would you take 6-6 MSU to win the NFC Championship game, or would you take another 4-8 season for a Lions Super Bowl? Oh, Kevin, that's tough, man. Look, I'll be clear about my allegiances. It is Michigan State basketball and football tied for 1A and 1B. There is a sizable gap up to number 2, the Detroit Tigers, and then the Lions at number 3. So, like, I am a big Lions fan. I do hold sports way higher in my life than any rational adult should. So, like, I still do live and die by every single Lions snap. My God, I shed way more tears over the Lions last year than I have with any Michigan State team. That's all to say that, like, oh, man. No, I take 6-6. I would. Because, look, all I want this year out of Michigan State is just a bowl game. Like, that's all I want. Like, I think I've been very clear on that during the offseason. It can't be like this every single year. But in year 1 under a rebuild, I'll take 6-6. I'll take the Raylia Quest Bowl. Oh, wait, no, that would be actually too high. The Surf Pro First Responders Bowl is what I'm talking about, or the Tax Slayer Bowl. I would take that if it means the Lions got to a Super Bowl. Up 17 points in the second half, and then a few Josh Reynolds drops away from actually making it there. That's all I have to do. I just have to see the Lions playing it. I know if that day ever comes, like, I will take all that back and say, oh, no, they actually have to win it. But right now, I just want what was taken from us from Josh Reynolds, and I just want a Super Bowl appearance. Just, like, let me get a hat with a Super Bowl logo and a Lions logo on it. That's all I need. So I'm sorry. Won't be like this every year. You caught me at a very weird time of fandom where, like, oh, I just need that moment back from the Lions last year, and I'm fine with Michigan State being 6-6 this year. That makes me just a terrible MSU fan. So I understand. So be it. But yeah, oh, Kevin, that's a mean question. Folks, we will be back on tomorrow's show. Like I said, Stephen Brooks of 24/7 Sports. We're going to have Chase Glasser on after that. And then for your game day preview show, Brian Lewerke will join the mix. Until then, guys, we're keeping tuned. Locked on Spartans, your team in green and white. Love you all. Go green.